Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Before you get it, baby, show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine. Boy, I'm standing right here holding up a sign, shamelessly displaying my state of mind. You walk right past me, pretending like you don't see what's yours for the taking tonight. Ooh, show me your soul, baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Can't you see it's way past time? How explicit do I have to be? I mean, I spell it out before you get it, baby. Show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you mine.
What's up? Good morning, y'all. That was the hood version of Lauren. I'm what in the LGBTQ world today, I'm what they would refer to as rough trade. Okay, I'll explain that in a different show. I'm kidding. I wish. You know, I am so happy to be here with y'all today. It is a rainy day in Georgia. No, in Naperville, suburb of Chicago. And I'm grateful. I love it because spring has sprung and, you know, all those great things. Wow, let me tell you about yesterday, y'all. Let me tell you. If I could speak in tongues, which I cannot, but if I could, I'd have to say about yesterday, Hasa Babaka. I'm just saying, it was one of those days, glory, where my life completely transformed. Completely. I woke up today a version of myself that I have never been, and it's just incredible. And I'm just here to tell you, keep going, be encouraged, keep going. Don't believe for a moment that anything you have ever lived is not going to serve a purpose within your purpose. But you must, in order to receive that birthright, which is always with you, always has been, always will be. But for you have to acknowledge it. You have to acknowledge it. And excuse me, my eye itching. Allergies. Anybody dealing with allergies already? Hello. So just, you know, I just want you to know that you have gone through nothing without there being a great reason for it. So wait on it. Let your patience be in one lane of this highway called life, your purpose in the other, and you stay in the middle, painting a yellow line of patience, because you got to wait on it. right? Wait on, can I get an amen? Thank you. So I'm usually, chatting it up, yada, 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 for until about 10 minutes after. But today we have so much to talk about with our guest today that I want to get in early. So I'm going to cut it off there with my little monologue. Is that all right? And let's talk about our guest today. His name is Norman KORPI. The name may ring a bell with you. Oh, wait a minute. Before we get into Norman, I'm sorry. The Bell of Purpose is here, as always, season 5. Our theme is Show Me Your Soul, and I'll show you mine. That's a promise. Now, the Bell of Purpose is here, not just as a little gadget or some kind of prop. It is a real thing. It is to remind us when you hear it ring that there's something great out there. There's some message, some food, some bread. Take it with you. Just because it's lying in the middle of the road, back the car up, doesn't mean it's roadkill. It could be something to soul fill. So look at it, take it with you, and do something with it, right? So when you hear our guest say something, that bell will ring, you're like, ooh, you guys put it in the comments, or even maybe me, right? But it's some good content. We pour into each other, for each other, to celebrate, uplift, and encourage each other, right? So anyway, also, before I forget and get sued from her, because she don't play, my sidekick is here, as always, season 5. My version of Ed McMahon is Lucy McGillicuddy Ricardo. Hey, girl. We're sipping back on that bitter tasting. What's it called? Honey, are you in the kitchen? Jamaican me crazy. Jamaican me like I needed some help. I told my husband, he gave me that for, I got a bunch of coffees for Easter in my basket. I was like, why you give me Jamaican me crazy? I don't need any more of that. Okay? So anyway, it is good, but I don't know why it's going to make me crazy. It's just bitter. But I drink it for medicinal reasons anyway. There it is. Norman KORPI, born in Wakefield, Michigan. I was born in Michigan. Oh my God. I don't know where Wakefield is. We'll talk about that. I was born in Berrien Springs, Michigan. Now, everybody knows where that is. It's a village of 700 people. How could you not know? Anyway, he is internationally known for his groundbreaking appearance on MTV's The Real World. Sorry, wrong guest, wrong show. Give it time. Wait for it. What I tell you? Wait for it. MTV's The Real World. It was the original broadcast in 1992. He received his BFA at Cooper Union and Yale's Norfolk program. He's a presidential scholar in the arts. And Norman has designed for the Guggenheim Museum, the ICA Museum in Boston, and the Pierpont Morgan Collection in New York. I'm not even going to try a New York accent. Norman is currently represented by Blackman Cruz, Los Angeles. An art director, Norman is created for Nickelodeon, Disney, Saban, UPN, Mattel, Nissan, Pizza Hut, Miller Beer, Jaguar, and they say Jaguar in a different way now, and I got to learn how to say it. The Oscars. Oh, really? I've been practicing my speech. I'll run it past you later. The Pacific Design Center. I know where that is in LA. I love that place. Yes. And also you're not going to believe this. And halftime Super Bowl show starring Diana Ross. I was on the field. I was on the field when Diana Ross was there. Do you remember Up With People? Norm, I'm talking to you. Okay, I see it. Yeah, I did 2 Super Bowl halftimes when I was with Up With People. So Norman, we have a lot in common. Oh, he also has a overachieved much, Norman? Norman's film directing career began with GET Networks in New York in 1993 and has led to his award-winning film, The Wedding Video, released by TLA Video in 2003 and Warner Brothers Television in 2004. He's also an inventor, has a patent with Life Gear Design to develop the A-Stand. We're going to show you that today. An evolutionary, multifunctional platform for personal computers, tablets, and other handheld items. Get your head out of the gutter, nasty. I know what you're thinking. Handheld items that seek space creation, protection, and super visualization and support. Wow, you put some thought into that description, right? So listen, I'm so excited. And right now, currently, as we speak, The Real World Homecoming on Paramount Plus, Amazon Prime, and all over the place is out right now. And I want to share a little bit of what they're doing with you all. So I don't have my contract with ABC yet, so I got to do all this clicking myself. I can't wait because I'm oh, I need some peoples, to do this stuff for me. Right. Okay. Is that it? Yeah. Okay. Take a look.
You want to hear 30 years of confession?
This is the true story
Of 7 strangers.
I can't believe we're in the same place.
It still smells the same. It still looks the same. Okay, we are officially re-roommated.
Oh my God.
This is where we live.
This is totally insane.
Oh, this is not going to happen. They can't do this to 7 people.
If I'm attracted to someone of my own sex, why should I be so afraid of it?
Get off
You know
that white thing!
It's a reality.
Ooh.
Find out what happens.
When people stop being polite.
And start getting real.
All over again.
I remember Heather.
No way.
I can't believe we're back 30 years later.
We are partying, yes.
Ooh, the neighbors are going to be pissed. Oh boy.
I didn't meet any cute boys tonight.
I didn't either.
What was it like after you had come out on the show?
It was hard. My friends are like, big. He represents what we all need to be, which is love.
It's 29 years later and we're still having the same conversations.
Call me a racist.
You are.
It's gonna sound, again, racist, but
Don't say it. You're missing the point of all of this. Things haven't changed.
Yeah, it's changed. It's gotten worse.
you leave.
What is this?
Just left.
Oh my God.
Sometimes things fall apart before they can get better.
You believe you can go through breakups, but your friends are always there.
Ooh wee. Wow. I'm glad I saw that. It makes me want to go and start binge watching. Yesterday, you guys, you know what we do at this point. That's right. Put your hearts on the screen. Put your heart into the screen. And put your heart into today's pouring in and out of each other's soul in here, because here comes our guest with a lot to say. Here he comes, you guys. Norman KORPI. Hey,
And good morning.
good morning. How are you?
I'm good. I'm sharing the tears in the rain. I'm actually probably about 600 miles due north of you from Illinois. My part of Michigan hovers straight over Chicago. So if you go straight up like 51, boom, you're here. So we're getting the rain. We're sharing the rain together. The love, the tears.
Well,
tears
first of all,
spring renewal.
we will go forward
Yeah.
to your home, not straight. Remember that back in the day when somebody said
Yes.
you're driving with somebody,
Daily forward.
go straight, and they go forward.
Daily forward.
It was
That's
like,
true.
watch your mouth. So, welcome to the show.
What an honor. What? Oh, what? Had I known about public speaking in the beginning with you, I'm the worst. This is the worst thing to go on a reality show and then try to speak when you're like an artist that doesn't like speaking in public. What? I need the services.
Well, it looked like you knew what you. Well, let me tell you something. That trailer, shocked me. And I remember Heather.
Yeah.
I remember Heather. So listen, say hello to everybody. Let's get started. Tell them, I know are you in Wakefield now? Where do you live in?
Wakefield, when you talk about 700 people, I think there's 400 people now left there. The hospital where I was born is gone. Ironwood, Michigan is now the one little center that's left. And we're the furthest city in the western end of the Upper Peninsula. Half of the town is in Wisconsin, Hurley, Wisconsin.
Wow. So is there a sign as you enter Wakefield that has your picture on it that says home of?
No, I think they just woke up this week and found out. I was on the local newspaper and everyone's like, what? That KORPI kid? People, TV's not a big thing up here in the UP. But what is when you come in here is a gigantic.
Oh, you're in the UP.
Yes, the UP, right here.
A?
The UP.
They say A a lot.
Oh, yeah. Hey. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Iron Mountain. I knew a girl in foster care named Penny.
Yeah.
Who was from Iron Mountain. Sweetest little thing.
Oh, wow.
But I was the first Black person she'd ever seen in real life.
Oh, really?
Back in 1970 something. I know. I wonder where Penny is today.
Well, it gets so cold here in the winter, you'd probably turn white after a month. I mean,
I've been there in winter.
You know, all the animals, everything. It's like, what? Negative 41 degrees on Lake Superior.
Oh my goodness. I almost forgot. You know what I almost said? When you were talking about how cold it was, I almost forgotten and was about to where is it? I have it. I pop it up to throw some guests off when they're here, especially the macho ones. Where is it? I'm looking. See, I need a team to do all this.
You need a team. We need a team.
I do.
We need phones.
Well, nobody's called me from network TV like they have you yet, but it's coming. Anyway, I'll just go ahead and say it because when you were like how cold it was, I was like, girl, you know, because look, my husband and I think already doing vacation jaunts so that we can find that warm spot we want to move to.
Yeah,
I'm tired of this cold. I really am. But let's talk about you and this reunion. How long had they been talking about doing this reunion with you original cast members?
It was an absolute surprise. I mean, they called me in December of last year and said, "Hey, we're gonna do this. We don't, you know, you're either all in or all not, and we need an answer within a week." And because the loft became available, the place where we shot the show in '92 was up for sale. And the rumor is that they'll probably break that large loft into many little apartments. It's so large. So it'll never look like that again. And somebody at the network in New York saw it and was just like, you know, this is our one opportunity. I think they would have loved to have done the show on its 30th anniversary. So people are like, why are they doing it on the 29th? And it's because the loft, and it really made everything happen. And I'm like, how are you going to shoot a show during COVID? I mean, you know, this is nuts. And of course, when you see the series, one of the cast members gets the COVID when we get there. Like, we're just about to shoot it, and he tested positive and was carted off to the hotel. So that just began the drama right from the get-go. So,
whoa.
Yes.
So tell us, okay, I don't know where to start. I wanted to talk about what it was like in 1992, but let's start there. So in 1992, how did you get on there in the first place? Did they find you? Did you audition? How'd that work?
All right. So I had a loft in Brooklyn. You know, I was just completing my art school, and thank you for giving a lot of my background there. And I was going to Cooper Union, and I was in between Yale in the summer, and we would rent the loft out in Brooklyn to like Guns N' Roses and different people for film shoots. So we were on the location register, and that's how MTV came, you know, the knocking on the door. And usually you do a location for like a week, maybe 2 weeks when they come and do a film for something or a video shoot. But MTV was like, oh, we need this for like 6 months, a very long period of time to shoot. I'm like, oh, wow. I mean, I don't know. We can't really move out of our loft. We don't have anywhere to go. So
you lived in the loft that they wanted to shoot the.
Yeah. So I was in the loft, and our loft, I had a loft. We had a roller skating rink in our loft. You know, we had like a tennis court. It was a big warehouse, like in south of Park Slope. And it was just, you know, it had been handed down through all these Cooper Union alumni would live there during college. And so when they would graduate, they'd say, oh, there's a room for you in this very large warehouse. You know, you kind of make your own room. So it was a huge creative space that, you know, sometimes 6 people would live in. And but it was pretty gigantic, the main floor of the loft. And so MTV came, and it was definitely the size that they needed to, you know, have a film crew and a control room, and then set up a loft for living. But the time period, you know, was just too big, you know, for us to accept something like that. So they remembered me. I think they remembered my dog Gouda. I had a big Great Dane on the show. And they called and were like, hey, you were kind of interesting, and your mouth was running all the time. Would you be interested in this show? And I'm, you know, I just TV, and I swear to God, I had a stage fright. I was a kid that, you know, went through school, you know, was labeled as the gay kid. I was always being picked on and beaten up. I did not want to get in front of anybody. I was just terrified at that point. You know, I liked my little universe, making art, being by myself. You know, it was being on camera or in front of people was not in my cards. You know what I mean? And I was terrified of public speaking. I had known you, I was dyslexic, so that was not very helpful for me.
Okay.
And so I did not see myself being on a television show whatsoever. But what I did want was a connection to MTV to make their T-shirts. You know, I said, oh, here's an opportunity for me. They're creative. I'd love to make the graphics. You know, we were doing a lot of graphic design. I was working, like I said, with the Guggenheim Museum. I was doing all of their products for the gift shop. So I was like, MTV sounds like such a big client. So I was just kind of like on the ride, knowing that I was on the ride that once I said that I was gay, because gay people were toxic. You weren't having them on TV. They weren't allowed on TV. In fact, if you had a gay person in a movie, do you know you got an R rating in 1992? You got the word, I'm sorry, but if you had a gay person, it was the same as a swear word. And that's just the word. That's the way the world worked. And you didn't see us on television because we were that toxic. So I just figured, well, I'm going to try to get as close to the, you know, the checkbook of MTV to do T-shirt design. And if they do decide, I'm going to say, oh, by the way, you know, I'm gay. Would you, you know? And I knew right there they would not want to move forward with that. So I never thought I would be on TV. But in their mind, they were like, ooh, I see a story in this.
Our ratings will go through the roof.
And then they were, of course, they're like, well, do your parents know? And I'm like, well, you know, I live with my boyfriend here and they come and visit me. They never ask questions. And I always believe you just lead your life. You know, I'm not going to explain to everybody in my wheelchair around me. You either see it or you don't. You know, I'm not someone that has to go around and explain myself. My sisters don't explain themselves if they're straight, you know, ridiculous. So that's how I was. And if they want to ask me questions why I sleep with Paul, every time they come, they can ask me. And if not, they don't have to ask me. That's how I was back in the day. And so, but doing a reality show and everybody going to watch you, I was definitely going to have to say, guess what, Mom, I know that you're not seeing this picture, but, you know, I am gay and this will now be documented. You know, it's a whole other thing. So I did have to present myself because I was going to drag them onto the show and make a big, you know, parent fuss, you know, all that kind of stuff and make it all tragic and sad. You know, I really wanted for the viewers to see, you know, a really kind of good, positive if this was going to be one of the first opportunities to see a gay person on television, I wanted that to be a really good experience for people and for a generation, you know, especially creative people on MTV to kind of grow up with. So,
well, I know that those shows are no easy task. My husband and I were on a reality show a couple summers ago in Mexico, and never again. I'm not kidding you. I mean, I literally, when it was over, it was, I mean, numbness in my hands. And I mean, I was just crazy. And I want to know, so did they tell your fellow cast members ahead of time once they signed you back then? And by the way, there's a gay person going to be living in this apartment, this loft with everybody. And did anybody have an issue with that?
Well, that's the most interesting thing, because then we go back to that time period, was that they're not allowed to, they were like, the concept of outing or the concept of talking about someone's sexuality was liable in a lawsuit. Like literally, if you even speculated that there was a celebrity, that whatever, you could be sued to the end of the earth. You know, because there was so much, you know, you could lose your apartment, you could lose your job. Everybody was very closeted, and everybody,
isn't that crazy?
They weren't even allowed to even bring that up, and it was up to me if I did something, you know, on camera. You know, it's like if I went through the 6 months and that never became an issue, or I never brought it up. But being in New York with all my friends and being a documentary, you know, that was important to me. But they weren't allowed at that particular time period in history to even broach that, you know, because it was so liable. So that's kind of interesting, you know. But to add to that, you know, as the real world went on to do up to many seasons, over 20 different seasons in cities. And then, you know, when Pedro Zamora, who passed away from AIDS in the San Francisco season, came on board, I think that was the first time once a precedent was set that they actually did inform the roommates that they were going to be living with someone with HIV, you know, to kind of give them a heads up, because at that point, no one had ever seen someone with HIV on television. I mean, this entire series is so groundbreaking and transformative to American television and to culture that, you know, really wrapped people around. And, you know, in a sense, we were kind of one of these first YouTube things that, you know, it allowed the people to kind of generate the stories. That's the uniqueness of the real world. It wasn't so much of a prize that you were
right or scripted.
It was really about people's stories, and not only through us, but they went on to hundreds of people beyond us to continue to share a lot of the stories. I mean, we have, you know, a season with a transgendered person on the season, you know, and incredible. And we were so advanced and ahead of networks because, you could, you had some gay person, the networks would never have been able to put that onto television with the standards.
Time.
I mean, if you get a gay person as an R rating, good luck ever putting them on television. You know what I mean? So because it was coming from us, I think the uniqueness of the Constitution of the freedom of speech allowed us to supersede, Hollywood writers and advertisers. The genius thing about, MTV at the time was that their advertisers were supported by a bubble. So they would come in and Coca-Cola would buy for the entire week. So it wasn't targeted to one show. So it allowed, that American experience of consumerism to support the show without having to support the show until it got up and running. Because advertisers too were not interested in having a gay person at that time. I mean, people went bananas. I mean, I had the first 5 years, and we talk about this in the reunion, where it was no picnic for me. I was labeled as bisexual, so they didn't get my definition 100% correct because they were trying to navigate this entirely new landscape. But it also kind of transformed me as a person because I was very out in the public all of a sudden. I had no idea that this was going to be some crazy successful show, even to the point that we're talking about it and revisiting it, almost 30 years today. And, it's like, no agent would talk to me. There was no platform for me. I was successful and a pariah at the same time. But, I'm a creative guy. And so what do? You just take those lemons and you squeeze them and you come up with gay entertainment television. I'm like, well, hell, RuPaul doesn't have a platform. We brought Ru onto TV with gay entertainment television. Ru was a good friend of mine. I'm like, forget it. So, I pull up your bootstraps and create programming in Manhattan. And we started with Party Talk and Inside Out. We had Mako Style. And we brought people's stories that were not going to go on. And we pushed that up until in 1995 when bigger watersheds of more people came out and the community became more visible. And the outreach of us through the internet. Now look at us today being able to really connect with one another. I mean, I didn't invent gay. People are like, we're there. We were always there. We just didn't have a platform or a voice.
Right. Weren't allowed.
Yes.
No.
And it's so touching to see your show and everything that you're doing. It's incredible.
Thank you. And I love it.
Your opening was just stunning. I was very emotional about it.
You see my cute husband in there.
I did. I didn't know which one was yet, but
my little Brian, Dr. Brian. Yeah. And
I saw it on your cake. Yeah. I saw your cake with the
the bubbles.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's such a blessing for us to be able, and I want to thank you.
Yeah.
Because we may not have been able to do many of the things or any of the things that we are able to do freely today, if not for pioneers like yourself. And there were a bunch. This brand, I love this brand, Triple Nickel. I'm a brand ambassador for them because, as you see on this side, it was like looking in the mirror. This is a line called the Unity line, and they have Stonewall T-shirts, and Brian and I are both ambassadors for them. And we do these little things that go out on television called Stonewall Stories, talking about how that eventful night in 1969 in New York City with Stonewall, how it started pretty much the gay movement for equal rights. And so today is a day of celebration for all who have donated and sacrificed everything from time to lives in order for us to be as free as we are, and there's still more to do. So let's talk about this. When you got there, because you guys filmed for 6 months?
It was set up for 6 months. I think our time period was closer to 4. There was the current shows are roughly 6 months, but from beginning to end with editing and interviews and all that stuff, it stretches out. I think the filming time probably was closer to a 4-month window.
Wow. I got to talk to in my event, the Power of We Symposium, when we were in Atlanta year before last. One of the kids that was one of my speakers, Justin Blue, was actively filming season 38 with The Real World. So MTV came to my event. They were there for 4 hours. All of the cast came, I think, except for one kid who was doing something else. But it was really a great experience. And here we are in your situation 29 years later. Now, man, that was a riveting trailer. Especially when they were talking with the girl about the racist comments and stuff. And so tell us about this. Were you surprised at this reunion? First of all, had you kept in contact with anybody over these years?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we formed a pretty tight family. There was no secret. We were only paid like $100 an episode, and we had the fame of the Kardashians. I mean, it got to be a point where we would shut down an entire street, or I'd go see a Madonna concert, and everyone would focus on me, and there'd be like 100. There'd be just thousands of people around me losing their minds, and security couldn't figure out what was going on. So. The seven of us, we bonded because no one could get it. I mean, we had the fame of rock stars on MTV, and yet we didn't have anything, and we had to go grocery shopping. All we had was each other to really start to rely on. Even our families and people around us couldn't understand. I couldn't even understand that fervor of people. So throughout the years, we've always been a really tight knit and supporters. Of course, as we've gotten older and traveled on, we don't get to see each other as much because, Julie went back to Alabama, and I eventually moved into Los Angeles and California, where I've spent most of my life. And so, once in a while we hit or miss. And then there's been occasions where we've had reunions, throughout the years. We had like a 10-year reunion, and I've gone on to do a couple reality challenges and made friends with other people from other casts. Mm-hmm.
Did you ever get called to do that one where they get remember Danny Bonaducci was boxing Greg Brady?
Oh my God. It's so funny on both of those things because I was a guest on the Danny Bonaducci show when he had a talk show back in the day when they're like,
I remember.
There's a gay person on TV and he dated Charles Perez and we're going to talk all about it. And so they sent me a bunch of stuff. And then Greg Brady actually, the actor actually bought a painting of mine.
Mm.
Yeah. I'm connected to the Brady Bunch.
See how all this stuff is connecting? I feel like it's that 7 degrees from Kevin Bacon thing going on.
Yeah.
So what about this? Let's talk about what is commonly referred to as, Andy Warhol put it best. Andy Warhol, yep, those 15 minutes of fame. Now, I know what happened when I had that back in the day when I started a company when I was 26 that was the world's first apology company, doing apologies for people. So I was on everybody's show, everybody, Rick Lay, all of them. And I remember that it wasn't thousands of people, but getting recognized, and I had tons of friends suddenly. I felt validated suddenly, and then as the dimmer switch of fame turned its ass down, I just finished a masterclass filming last week, and I got the footage yesterday. And one of the things in there that I didn't realize stuck so hard inside my spirit was until I rewatched it yesterday. And I was saying, I remember the day when the news van said stop coming, and I looked around in my apartment, and it was a mess. Bach Rock Crystal was missing. All the liquor was gone. Wasn't no food in the fridge, and somebody went in my junk drawer it was really my sock drawer in my bedroom and stole my rent money. And then I stood there and I looked around, and I remember saying, where did everybody go? Mm-hmm. Talk about that how you're catapulted into this place, and then how it felt as that started to move away from you. Because I didn't get rich from my little moment either.
Yeah.
But talk about what that experience did to help shape the you that moved from that experience forward. Could you do that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously my slap in the face was much quicker, but they retained most of the cast to move forward, and I don't know if it was only going to be, our particular cast. We were going to be more like the Jersey Shore, and you were going to just see our cast. But I wasn't asked to come back, and I couldn't figure out why, and they paid people, at that point, 3-4 times the amount that we got paid during the show. And so it got back to me that, everyone was retained for a good amount of money except for me. And I only could draw conclusions because of the gay thing.
What else could it be?
And I remember going to the Video Music Awards, and one of the drunk advertising girls stumbled up to me, and she's like, "You don't know how hard it was for me to try to sell advertising with you on that show." Yeah. And then she stumbled off all drunk with her broken heels out there on Holiday Pavilion. And so me being paranoid, added it up. Like, okay, everyone else is getting paid. They want them to come back. And obviously I'm not. So it must be because I smell gay.
Right.
You know, like, and I don't think the world was ready for it. And I don't know what they were able to do with it. And there was no community. There wasn't anybody supporting it. So it was easy to go like, okay, let's push this one off.
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
Go ahead, finish that thought.
Yeah. So, but it was my castmates, because that's how tight we are. They refuse. They're like, if Norm's not on the show, we're not on the show. I mean, Heather B's like, forget it. I mean, are you kidding me? Julie were all like, no, we're not doing your show. And I don't know if that evolved it, why they went to a Los Angeles season. They went on forward, but then the train moved on, and my cast was like, forget it. I mean, Norm's.
So they didn't do it.
They didn't do it. They were like, no.
Wow.
Hello. And I'm telling you, it's the strength of the people around. I mean, as much as I came out, if you didn't see like Heather B and Kevin and this diverse cast, Julie, you know, the girl that you'd go to prom with, like those are the people, the archetypes that people saw in America. And because those archetypes accepted me, it did more for the gay community than me coming out, because it was them. It was this wide group of people. And all those people said, I know someone like that. Those are the cool kids. If they can all hang with Norman, why can't I? And all those kids watched High School, and it changed all of their. It changed a whole generation below the gay community didn't understand. Like the gay community was like, "Oh, look at me! I need me." It was about like these people accept this gay guy, and it was that acceptance through those 6 people that changed the way the rest of the country would move. You know, we're 10%. We need these people to vote for us. We need these people to like us. And these people out there in the country have brothers and sisters that are gay, cousins, people that know us, know me and you. And now this show helped create that voice. So the social experiment completely was so different than the money experiment that it was a duality. Like I could not, being rewarded that incredible responsibility of being connected to the public that now was changing. That 15 minutes it was much bigger than the 15 minutes. It literally, when you change something in society, it's something much different than, oh, here I am. And it was never this narcissistic, what didn't I get? I could see what had happened. And I try to step into that as best as possible. To a certain extent, a lot of people who were gay and afraid, there was no anonymous way to use the internet. There was no way to, even if they could reach out to a gay and lesbian center, it made them so visible that they were scared to even pick up that phone wherever they were. But with our show, you know, we were pop culture. We were okay. So I became that weird center the male that came in and just trying to reach out and spend that time with people and trying to help them cross that bridge with us was a lot of like, you know, kind of extra work that I was kind of doing in the background. And I mean, it was definitely really, that satisfied me over the fact of the doors that weren't opening for me. I just, you know, I figured something's going to happen good for me. I need to do this in Moment with History. I can't worry about what I can get for myself. It's like, how can I get this bridge across, you know?
Right. When we're going to take a short break and return with more from Norman. And I want you guys to get your questions and comments together because I know you have them. And when we return, if it's okay with you, I'd like to ask you about, because you came out on the show, but I have a feeling some allies did as well. Because the people we've been describing that were supportive, like the castmates said, we're not going to do it. Allies weren't even a thing then, but they are today. Thank God. They've helped us cross many a finish line. So I want to talk about that. And I also want to talk about, because this was before Matthew Wayne Shepherd and that sort of thing. And I want to find out, how did it feel to be vulnerable to any type of crazy out there?
And the kidnapping story.
Right. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. If there was ever anything that was a scary, we're going to get into that and more with Norman KORPI when we return. Don't you go away. We'll be right back. we're back. I'm Lauren Michael Harris. Welcome back to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. I want to say thank you first before we get back to the interview with Norman, to my sponsor for today, Swing and Fun by Crystal. Get over and check out those wonderful swings that she creates for your little ones, and the swings grow with them. So get over and check it out. I've heard great things about it. A lot of great reviews from people that have watched here on the show and gone and taken advantage of that opportunity. So you do the same. And also, you saw a little quiet promo for my new show that is coming up June 1st, The Other Side of the Rainbow, an LGBT interview show where we part the curtain and take you back into the recesses of the LGBTQ world to answer your questions and shed some light on the reality of what we really stand for. And Norman KORPI is here today doing just that. Hi, welcome back, Norman. Tell us about allies versus haters, because I know you had some of both. Talk about first, if you could, the allies. Do you consider any of those castmates having come out as far as being supportive as an ally, putting a face to that name of an ally back then? And did people know what that was, or did that come later?
100%. My castmates were allies of mine, and it just, I can't believe, I mean, it was just such a miracle, the casting of that show, because I've seen other casts which, you know, we gave platform to, where that cast ripped each other apart, you know, and voted people out of the house. It was so fortunate.
Oh, you can do that?
Oh my gosh, yeah, they had a Puck character on, and with the Pedro, and then the whole thing exploded and ripped apart, you know. With our cast, and thank God when you saw ours first, we had such unity. You know, we were all artists and we were creative, and I think when you're an artist, you really want to listen and be inspired by other artists around you, and you know, it's such a listening experience. And those people listened to my story, you know, and through my journey with them, they became my ally. And having that televised in public and being first on this MTV platform where, you know, you're young and what do you want to do? You want to go be part of this MTV generation. And they're like, I can't believe, you don't have to be Tori Spelling to get on television. You know, you can be us, people that you'd never see. You never saw someone like me, a gay person, on TV, or never saw Heather B, you know, this rap. You know, these people weren't included. We weren't included. And all of a sudden we were not only included, we were on the main stage, you know? Yeah. And so these people being allies was so amazing and important. And I didn't quite realize the importance. You know, I thought, okay, this is going to be good, me coming out. But what was more important was these people, you know, saying, I believe in that guy and I'm going to support him. And when that happened, it gave voice to people, not only here in America, but MTV was 144 countries. People in Russia and Brazil were like, this isn't even going on in our country. You know, we're starting to break a whole thing through this platform.
What about the people in your close proximity, like family members? Did they get any backlash because people didn't know? Did you see what your son did and said on TV? How can you know what I'm saying? Did you?
I know what you're saying.
Did you get any of that? And how did your family react?
I would, you know, my family is so important and super protective. And of course they were just scared of, you know, they just knew it was absolutely toxic and they had no game plan. I had to become my parent. That's one thing that I learned, was that my parents did distance themselves through those first years. And we had very close. They'd call me every time, every weekend, all this kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden they didn't know what to do. So they didn't call, and that fear came through. And I realized, well, how, you know, they don't know anything about gay. I have to be the parent to them. So I'm going to do what they always did for me, rather than run away from them. You know, I'm going to be the parent, call them, even if they're going to hang up the phone, even if they're going to, I'm still the same person that I was, you know, 6 weeks before I shot this show.
Exactly.
And I needed to show them, and it was just going to take time. And I know it was very hard for people that would come out and lose their families and not know, they had no game plan on all this stuff. And I'm like, well, if I'm the first person, I need to figure this game plan out and hopefully succeed at this. And it's going to be tough. I was a brat to my parents. So if they're going to be a brat, and I have to respect what they do and just know that I'm there for them. And if you just keep being there for somebody, it's surprising how you can move that needle. It might take 1 year or 2 years,
or
but
longer.
and they're here thick as thieves with me, you know. And
See?
good thing I had a good Sicilian grandmother here in the UP, and she's like, "You're gonna get in line. Norm's my favorite. All 100 of my cousins and everybody, you're gonna learn to love Norman, or I'm talking to you." My grandma was like, "Rawr."
She was in there. Let me ask you about something you said here. You know, I'm dealing with. I'm trying to cover up a possible senior moment I'm experiencing right now, and I'm reaching. Hold on, wait for it. Wait for it. It'll return. What's my name? Sorry, I'm kidding. It wasn't that. No, I'm kidding. I want to talk about the responsibility that you had to have felt being the poster child for what people would assume is how gay people are, because you were the first experience, even through television, for millions of people and they didn't have to admit that they had watched you or knew or were interested or curious or whatever the case may be. So take that, and I'm going to get off and move off the stage and let you run with this, but take that responsibility piece and then tie it into what you alluded to about this kidnapping story. And it, you know, and the fear of, there are people that, Matthew Wayne Shepherd, you know, back then, this was a big deal. You came out, you could die for it. So, you know, so talk about that, and let's shed some light on that kind of thing, the fear that may have been with the fame.
Yeah. So, and it was a real fear even for me, even accepting the show, because when they gave me the contract and I came out to them, because even at that point, they couldn't ask me if I was gay or not. It was pretty illegal. So, and I didn't really want to do the show. And so when they gave me the contract and I was hoping to get the t-shirt, you know, contract I was talking about, I sat on the subway going back to Brooklyn on the F train, and I was like, oh my God, there's at some point everyone on this train would know who I am, and they wouldn't have to say anything, but I don't know them. So it's going to make me that visible, that vulnerable. And I really had to sit there and process that. But at the same time in the world, you know, and being that optimistic, you know, going through art school, I was one of the first, you know, 20 people in this group ACT UP. My professor, Douglas Crimp at Cooper Union, was one of the founders with Larry Kramer, and like brought our whole class, was like, this is important. You know, people are dying of AIDS. There's no visibility. There's nothing. And I had lost people. And I'm like, here's an opportunity for me to be on this platform. You know, I'm going to have to weigh the risks, but I'm like, things have got to change. You know, it's got to change for me. I've got to change, help other people change. The world's got to change. And this is a way that now this gift has come to me and I need to bold it up. But I always had to keep in the back of my mind, or I always had to scan the room, or always scan for danger. Now, one thing people don't know about me is that I'm 6'4". I'm a big guy. And so a lot of people are like, oh, so when they do come up to me in any threatening manner, I'm much bigger than you think I am. And that kind of backs people away a little bit. But there was huge fear on my parents' part that I wouldn't get work, I couldn't get a job, I couldn't do these things. And the power that I had, and probably people in Hollywood, all the Elton Johns, and you can line them right up to the beginning and the end, was that they had managers, careers, agents, and if you said the word gay and any of that, you know, forget it. Your careers were gone, and they were. I watched the first 10 years from 92 up to whatever. The guy in what was it, Grey's Anatomy or one of those shows, and then he was gay, and then he's off the show. Like, it just becomes so loud that people publicly having anything to do with gay for those first 10 years were goodbye. And so with me, I'm an artist. I don't have some Hollywood career. I don't have nothing to like worry about gone. You know, I'm designing my own stuff. I'm making my own money and in control of my own stuff. So it put me kind of in a unique position to like weather that storm, you know, for people with that. But you know, even that, as much as I anticipated, came. My business partners with the company Gouda felt that my fame was so gigantic that I was trying to be a television star. Like, and they're like, I remember them like voting me out of my design company. Like, hey, it looks like you want to be a person, so you know, on TV, and you want to be a star. So we're going to get rid of you. I'm like, hey, there's no opportunity. I'm not trying to be a star and go get some William Morris contract. So that was kind of hard. That, you know, all of a sudden I was on my own. They paid me a severance package. And I just rallied around that community that I was trying to help. And, you know, and and it was, and it was definitely, I mean, no secret, I was in love with definitely the most colorful of the gay community. And I know people are like, oh, we just all need to be this straight, narrow gay thing to be acknowledged. I'm like, no, we're all on board or none of us are on board. I am friends with Lady Bunny and that is it. And I don't care. And, these are my friends, my whole crew down at like the Pyramid and the Lower East Side, the RuPauls and all of that. And, there was like another section of the gay community that was fighting Starting Out magazine and all these people, and they wanted this image to go forward. I'm like, everyone's on board or no one's on board. We're helping everybody on this boat. That's me. But it did leave me somewhat like vulnerable, and I did have to start looking for some work, and that will bring me to my kidnapping story.
Okay,
my kidnapping story. How did that happen? So, as you do get your feelings a little personally hurt when the other cast members get a good chunk of money saying we're going to move forward with them, even though they didn't. And then I got nothing, and I needed to prove to society that I'm worth. I could see the worth happening in public. People were accepting me, and it was great, and they were excited. So I had gotten this phone call, which is very vulnerable, to be a radio host. And I'm like, oh God, I don't do radio, whatever. And they're like, no, you're perfect. And every time I had an excuse with this company out in Cleveland, in Cincinnati, and they're like, global music, satellite radio, whatever. So they lured me in with a big figure, like $80,000. And then there was no internet. There was nothing. So I accepted. I flew out there. They flew me out. What I thought they were flying me out. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, I'm like, the airport there is in Kentucky, because that's where you get kidnapped. You get taken to Kentucky, like Deliverance or somewhere. Oh. And then, I know. So when I got there,
I was scared of that when I went to the Ozarks.
I'm like, oh, wow, what's happening here? I have a suit and all this stuff, planning for these meetings with all these radio people. And the person picked me up, was like, oh, we're going to go down to the gorge and we're going to find a camping scenario. And that way you can get friendly with everybody in the radio station before we have a big meeting on Monday. I'm like, oh, I'm really tired. I just edited all these gay shows and I'm exhausted. Maybe the hotel and all that stuff is where I need to go. Just kind of charge up. And they're like, but then I'm thinking, oh, $80,000, oh God, I need that money. And then to show the people back at MTV that people want to hire me too, and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, it was all a ruse. There was no radio station. There was nothing. Before you know it, I was in a car. I was in the middle of Kentucky with this stranger, and as we drove further away from there's no cell phones, nothing, and I'm just thinking, I'm going to get offered this job. And it was a total, I was being kidnapped. And then the crazy sad thing was, and then embarrassing, and I don't want to tell this story because I'm like an idiot that I got this far down the road, but he started sharing his story, and he came from one of those families that he made him watch The Real World, and they send you those weird church things where they try to out gay you. What is it? Those weird things where they
want to
portray you. What is it?
Yeah.
They're electroshocking him and prodding him.
Honey, what's that called?
Those transgression,
those church things that
try to. God, yeah. There's a good movie with
programming.
Yes, like Nicole Kidman just did that movie that I watched with that really talented young actor where they try to ship him up and get that gay out of him, And
who were these people?
Well, he was a
conversion therapy. That's what it's called. It's called.
So this kid was, after listening to this whole story and then realizing that I was somewhat in danger, in the car, I was like, oh my gosh, there's no radio thing here. There's no money. This kid, I'm the only gay person.
So where was he taking you?
Just to the middle of Kentucky in the woods.
For what?
To go have sex with him or something, to because he thought I'm the only gay person in the world, and he's the only gay person in the world, and by bringing me there, it was a whole. Yeah, no, I literally had to take control, and that's what I was saying when I showed up at the airport. He's like that tall, and then I'm towering over him. He's like, I didn't know how big you were. And of course, he's supposed to be the president of this radio network, and he's 18 years old. And I'm like,
so how did it end?
Well, it ended with him crying on a rock for 2 hours. I took control of the car, made sure I didn't have anything that he had to drug me with, made sure he didn't have a gun, go sit on this rock in the middle of the damn forest that I didn't know anything about. I said, you give me the keys to the car. We're going to sit down. We're going to work this out, you know? And so I had to like,
never turned him in.
No. I said, we're going back. I'm going to get a hotel. I'm going to get you a hotel room. I'm going to keep the keys to your car. I'm going to go back to Cincinnati. My sister's going to come down here from Lansing, Michigan. And then I'm leaving. And this suit that I bought for this interview and the return, all this stuff, you're going to pay. And I didn't expect he would, but, you know, like, I don't know, like 7 months later, there was a check and a really big apology. And I'm so sorry. But, you know, I felt at the same time after his whole story unfolded and how desperate he was in reaching out. And that's just how vulnerable I was. But then, you know, I could see that people out there, you know, didn't have
some way to learn.
Needed something. There was no, those resources weren't there kind of yet for people in these rural, isolated communities and in these places. And so, yeah, I mean, there was other scenarios where people flew in from Hawaii and broke through my window when I lived in California, and they're like, "Oh, we're supposed to be together."
Well, obviously, it wasn't so bad because you made the decision to re-up and do it all again. So on the screen right now is where you can continue the dialogue from today's show with Norman at normankorpi.com. Also, if you're interested in that stand he was describing, that is very functional. I've seen it, and it has a lot of uses. Here is where you may do that as well. And Carol Merrill is now showing you what's behind curtain number 2. Thank you, Carol. Yes, very nice. Now take your hand and rub it down. Go across the top. You know how you're supposed to go. You know you're supposed to do this stuff, Norman.
And then...
Right. Well,
I do that right after I pull your drink tray out.
See, oh yes, that is. It's look at that. Look at that. Get over and check that out, Norman. What's the play schedule for people to watch this? I know it's Paramount Prime, Amazon Prime. What days and times can they catch that?
So the last episode, you're talking to me first. Just aired today, dropped today. So the finals. 6th episode aired today. I watched it this morning at 5 a.m. and was full of tears. It really kind of hits home Kevin Powell's story, who at the time he became like the angry black man, and he, you know, a lot of things had happened about racial tension in this country, and people bring it back to our seeing this for the first time. Like Rodney King exploded with us being taped, and it really brought those dynamics and that conversation, those important conversations unedited, you know, in a way that, you know, it came from us. It was edited, but it wasn't like a network writing a script or a screenplay and then doing that. It literally was coming from people that felt this and could articulate it as best as possible, you know, and what we were personally going through. And it really has an important content. And now here we are, 29 years later with things that are happening with like George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and these things have not moved the needle. And I hopefully the protests and I hope to God that the icebergs were melting down. But, you know, we were so young that we didn't even hear what Kevin was really saying as a black man that literally, you know, walks out his door, and because somebody calls, most likely it's some kind of a Karen, and they're like, "Oh my God, I'm trying to watch birds, and this person and and they just call the police, and then all of a sudden, you're being because someone called the police, And these stories and bringing that back, and I'm so glad Kevin's journey really comes together, because of any of us on this season, he's really had to carry a really hard cross of like the angry black man and these things. And what he was saying was right on target, and it's just nuts because people want to just label you, oh, you're saying something that, it's crazy. Yes, things have been really stacked up unfair. I mean, the whole country has unfortunately been founded on like take and greed and these kinds of episodes. Even what happened with The Real World, people in Time magazine are saying, we wish we could have like emulated what we did those first 2-3 years on The Real World to what it evolved to as like a greedy, narcissistic explosion of reality television that gives us like wacky ass president. We were much different, and I'm glad what we had is coming back and people can refresh themselves and say, we can all do better and we can be so much out there. Hello.
That's it.
We can all do together as a community, let's go forward like that. Let's disarm the nuclear weapons.
I hate to say it, but we're out of time. and I have enjoyed it, and I know you all have. Thank you so much. And I just want to say, as a representative of the LGBTQ plus community, on behalf of this household as well, my husband Brian and myself, I want to thank you for being our version of a Rosa Parks, a true trailblazer. Seriously, a true trailblazer, because we are the ones who are reaping a lot of the benefit that you had to live through. That came as a result of a lot of the not so comfortable times that you had to live, past, present, and here you signed up to tell the story one more time in a new voice. 29 years later. So hats off to you for that. Keep doing what you're doing. And you all out there, keep doing what you're doing. I want you to get out today and make a difference in the world simply by leaving something or someone you encounter a little better than the way you find them. When we do that, we're going to find out that this world can be a lot greater if we put an E and an R on everything that already is. So today, take great to greater, take strong to stronger, take bright to brighter. Join me tomorrow morning when Chapel Simmons, that's just my, flourish because it's a gay show today. It will be here to talk about her story. So I want to thank you guys so much again for showing up. Norman, what a pleasure. So grateful to meet you. Joseph Federico, you work with him. He does a lot of work with your brand, representing you and whatnot. Thank you, Joseph, for the connection. And Joseph will be here next Thursday, actually, the 15th. He will be here with Ask the Experts. Month 2, they're back. And so make sure you mark your calendars. I will see all of you tomorrow morning, God willing, right out front on the front porch, where we're going to do it all again. We're going to show each other our souls, and we're going to pour into this world. Get out there. I love you. Thank you again, Norman. I'll see everybody again. Thank you. See you tomorrow for our next episode of Bathrobe Moments.
Baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Honey, it's way past time. How expensive do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul. And honey, I'll show